Hey guys! So I didn't know if I should make this video or not. I've been wondering for actually the past couple of months whether or not I should even talk about this, but I realized ultimately that it's good for me to talk about it to you guys. Like, it's not like it's weird for me to talk about it, but I just didn't know if I should put it on my channel. But now I am. So as you guys can tell from the title, I had anorexia. It was years and years ago when I was 13 and 14. It lasted for almost a year, like it was really bad for almost a year, and then it started getting better. So first of all, you guys know that I have a twin sister. Her name is Delaney. We're not even identical, we're fraternal twins. But anyway, we have always been compared to each other. No matter what, like we've been compared grades-wise and personality-wise, and just twins in general are often compared to each other, whether they're identical or not, so we were always compared to each other. This was not very good for actually either of us. So that's the first thing you need to know as a background for this story. The second thing you need to know is I had this friend named Laura, she's like my best friend, and so grades 6 and 7 and 8, we were for some reason like really into like losing weight, even though neither of us needed to lose weight. We were both really skinny actually, but we thought we needed to lose weight, and so we would make up these diet plans and exercise plans and all that. We never really stuck to them, to be honest. We never did. That's the second thing you need to know. So let me just begin. So in grade 8, I was in a play called Tom and Huck. It was about Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. My sister was in it as well. So during rehearsals one time, Delaney ran and jumped into this girl's arms, and then she like spun her around. Just one of our friends. And so they were just like goofing off. And then so I was like, oh, it's my turn. And she's like, okay. So then I ran and jumped into her arms. She twirled me around and stuff. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh my gosh, you're so much heavier than Delaney. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are. And so that wasn't a good thing to hear, obviously. So this was in grade 8. Another incident that happened was Delaney and I and my mom were at this family party thing. And they had a really, really cool bathroom at that house. And it was like really big, and they had this bathtub that was like an old-fashioned one that wasn't like connected to the wall, and it was like this. And so anyway, it was going like, say it goes this way. So Delaney and I were sitting with our butts in the bathtub, and we had our legs dangling over the side, and we were just, I don't even know why we were in there. We were just like talking, I guess. Anyway, so this guy came in, this man who was like a family friend as well, he came in to use the bathroom, and we couldn't get out of the bathroom. He's like, hey, I'll help you up. And so he pulls Delaney up, and then he pulled me up. Well, he goes to pull me up, and then he lets go for a second. He's like, whoa, you're a lot heavier than her. And then he pulls me out of the bathtub. And then he looked at both of us, and he was like, that's so weird. You guys look like you're the same weight, but you're so much heavier than her. And I was like, great, thanks. It really bothered me, and there were like some comments from other people. I wasn't even chubby. Like, I was actually really thin, and I was going through a growth spurt, but apparently I was much heavier than Delaney. So comments like that just kind of triggered it for me. So with incidents like that happening, I decided to take it into my own hands, and I was going to be skinnier than Delaney. That was my goal, was to be skinnier than my sister, so that next time people would compare us, they'd say that I was skinnier. So that's how it started. So next thing you know, I had made myself a food journal. It was like a diary. It was a red book. So with the food journal, I decided I was allowed to eat 5 meals per day, but really it was like 5 things per day. So I had mapped out in advance 2 weeks of a schedule. I actually looked for the food journal to show you guys, but it's somewhere in storage because we moved. And so say it was April 4th, and so each page was a day. So it would be like April 4th, first meal, dash, second meal, third meal, fourth meal, fifth meal. And then at the bottom, it had comments where I could like either reprimand myself or praise myself or say like little things that I ate or something. So that was each day, and it started out for 2 weeks. And when I started out, I had completely forgotten like some things that I had eaten, and it was hard to get into that schedule to like write down everything that I ate. And I also kept forgetting everything I had eaten that day. So I was like writing it out at the end of the day. And so afterwards, if I had written that I had had a 6th meal or a 7th meal, then I would reprimand myself, and I'd be like, why are you eating that much? Like, you can't do that, you're gonna be fat and all that. It took me a while to get into the hang of things, but I eventually started remembering to write things down and to write it in like as soon as I ate it. And soon it was just going through my head. And since I started getting into a schedule of it, I would think in my brain like, okay, well, this is my 2nd thing that I ate today. I can only have 3 more meals. And the reason I'm quoting meals is because it really wasn't meals. And then, because I wanted to lose weight, I started not having a 5th meal. And then I started not having a 4th meal. And so I was down to like 3 meals a day. But then I found myself to start to not get as hungry. And so I didn't even want 3 things to eat that day. And so what turned into 3 meals were starting to whittle down to smaller portions. And I don't know if you guys think this is gross or not, but I used to really like to eat frozen corn and frozen peas. And so like a cup of frozen corn would count as a meal in my book. And then I would eat a couple of grapes for like a 3rd meal or something. And then at the bottom in the comment section, I would praise myself because I didn't even fill up the 5 things I had to eat that day. I was very happy with myself. So the 2 weeks went by, and then I began this habit because I wanted to see my results, like so-called results. And then so I would turn to the side in the mirror and I would push the back of my shirt to the side and see how like big my stomach was. Like I would see how thick it was. If my stomach was this big in the mirror back then, I would think that I was super fat, and I haven't even eaten anything yet today. So then after those 2 weeks, I made another schedule which was a month long. But then by that time, even though it had only been 2 weeks, my stomach was starting to shrink, or at least temporarily shrink. So I was starting to not be hungry as much. So it was even more intense in this new schedule. So I was starting to only have 1 thing per day, and it wasn't even healthy. I would come back from school or from being with my friends, and I hadn't had anything to eat that day, and the only thing I would have to eat was a cup of frozen corn or a cup of frozen peas, and that's what I would eat. And then I wouldn't eat anything for the rest of the day, and I would just go to bed. And I was so proud of myself because I felt like I was succeeding in my new diet plan. It didn't even occur to me that I was actually becoming anorexic. And so weeks went by, and that was all I was eating. And if I had even 1 more thing than that, I would start to reprimand myself, being like, I'm on this great diet plan where this is all I'm eating. Like, why would you eat more than that? You don't need more than that. And I remember one time when I was looking at myself in the mirror, doing that side thing where I was pushing my shirt back, and my mom walked by and she was like, why are you doing that? And she was like pulling my shirt, like the way it's supposed to be. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I always do this. And she's like, I know, why are you doing it? And then I don't even remember what I said back. And then she was like, Geneva, you're freaking anorexic. And I'm like, and I thought that was ludicrous. I was like, Mom, I actually remember laughing. I was like, Mom, I'm not anorexic. I'm just eating healthier. And she's like, are you kidding? Like she was trying to explain to me, and I thought it was mad that she had even used that word because I didn't think I was. I just had a new diet plan, and Laura didn't even do this with me. This was just me. And I remember I was still in school, like it wasn't even summertime yet, and we were still doing the play, and this was by the time we were like performing it. And I remember one time in between one of our shows, I was telling one of my old friends that I was eating carrots, and that's all I had been eating that day. And then she got so mad at me. And I was like, why are you even getting mad at me? Like, I need to do this. This is healthy. And then she was like, this is not healthy. Like, people started getting really mad at me, and rumors started going around because you could tell that I was starting to lose weight. And I had already lost 11 pounds, and it was during my growth spurt, obviously. And so you can't lose weight during a growth spurt. You have to be eating healthy, obviously. And so with my food journal, it started to get to the point where I wasn't eating anything at all, or I was eating the 1 cup of corn, just like if I was hungry. And I remember one of my breaking points where I actually realized that I had a problem was when I was at Laura's, and this was in the summertime, and we were going swimming or something. And I was writing in my journal, and I remember asking her if a peach counted as a full meal. And then she was like, what? And I was like, does peach count as a meal? And she's like, I can't believe you're still doing that. Like, she saw that I had the book, and she's like, why are you still doing that? That's so stupid. Like, she got really mad at me, and then she started yelling at me because, like, what kind of a question is, does a peach count as a meal? Like, it was going to be like the only thing I had eaten that day. And she got really mad at me, and that was when I started to realize that I might have a problem, that this isn't the way that I should be doing it. And people all around me were starting to say things behind my back, and they were coming up to me and asking me, like, what was going on, because I was like not eating anything when they were eating stuff. But I still kept going with the diary, and I still kept going with not really eating. By the time September rolled around, I was with Delaney at one of our friends' houses, and our friend had just gotten a camera phone. This was back when camera phones were like a novelty. And so Delaney was taking a picture of our friend, and I was in the background going like this, like doing the shirt thing, looking at the side of my stomach. And Delaney always hated when I did that. But then she was looking through all the pictures, and then she saw that I was in the background doing that. And then she flipped and she showed me, and she was like, look what you're doing in the background of this picture. Like, this was just a candid picture. She's like, you need to stop doing this. And so I looked at it, and that's when I realized, like, I need to stop doing this. This is not healthy at all. By that time, I was nearly 5'9", and I was 94 pounds. So I was really bony. It had gone a lot farther than I had expected it to. It was no longer about being skinnier than my sister. It was just about being skinny. So no one could say that kind of stuff about me, even though I was super skinny to begin with. That was pretty much my trigger moment of when I realized that this isn't what I should be doing, and that's when I started to get better. But I had gone through so much of that amount of time numbering my meals and keeping it like in my brain. And so it took me probably about 4 or 5 months to actually get that out of my head and starting to think about, like, okay, well, it's okay that I eat this. And at the time, I didn't even realize what was healthy to, like, actually do. I wasn't as informed as I am now about how to eat. So I basically just started eating. I started eating breakfast without knowing how important breakfast was. I just started eating breakfast and lunch and dinner. Like, it took a while for me to start eating stuff again, and I still was kind of looking at myself in the mirror like that, but I ended up not feeling like I had to do that anymore. And I kept growing as well, and I found myself to be more and more hungry, because when you grow, your body wants food, it wants nutrition. And so I'm 5'11" and a half now. I'm 21, I'm completely over it, and I know what I should be doing to be healthy. In fact, my history with anorexia is more of a deterrent at this point to keep me from eating that way. If you want to tone up, if you want to just feel healthy, you can't do it that way. Like, it doesn't work that way, and it doesn't give you energy. It can ruin your body. Like, it can actually make your organs die if it gets too far. I just wanted to make this video to show you guys that you can come back from it to the point where you love food. Like, I love food so much. I love to cook. And I just wanted to reach out to you guys to let you know that, like, someone on here, because I haven't seen any other beauty gurus that have made videos about this, that someone on here has had anorexia and has gotten past it and can talk about it at this point. So if you guys have any sort of problems with food, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, anything, you can always message me and I will give you the best help I can. And actually, before we moved out of our house, when I was packing everything up, I found the red journal again, and I flipped through everything and I saw how bad it was getting. And then at the end of it, I saw that I had written, I'm crying, okay. I saw that I had written something like 2 years later, which I completely forgot about. And it was me telling myself that I had, like, that I was beautiful and that I had a beautiful body and that I'd be good to remember that. And I had completely forgotten that I had written that after my whole ordeal with it. And then when I read it over again, I put in a little extra note that like had hearts in it or something like that. And oh my goodness, it's good to see the years that have gone by and how I actually have come back from it. And it's not a demon for me anymore. It's not something that I'm thinking about all the time. What I'm actually excited to think about is, like, what am I gonna have for dinner? Like, I can make something really, really cool for dinner. And I also know tips to keep it healthy, just so I can put good stuff in my system. I hope you guys really liked this video, and please let me know what you guys think. Please comment, rate, and subscribe if you like my videos, and I will see you guys later. Love you. Bye!